What's up, Dragon Brood? So, I'm sure you've heard by now there was a banner restricted announcement today on June 1st from Wizards of the Coast, and it's definitely going to change standard a little bit. The question is how much and what cards ended up on there. Should they have done more? Did they do plenty? Lots of things we can talk about. I'm going to try to keep this short, but I definitely wanted to at least address it because it's going to affect the decks we're going to be playing on the channel probably over the next couple weeks. So let's get into that announcement. Going over this announcement, you can see that there were changes in a couple of formats and they changed the companion rules. So starting right at the top, the companion rule is once per game, anytime you could cast a sorcery during your main phase when the stack is empty, you can pay 3 generic mana to put your companion from your sideboard into your hand. This is a special action, doesn't require an activation. This is actually really big. I know some people look at that and say, well, you can still play companion, it doesn't change anything. The ones that cost more don't matter. But no, this actually does matter. There have been several times during the course of the last few weeks, I guess since Ikoria released, that you get into these game states where you just go ahead and play your companion right then. You know, because think about this. Some of the decks that play something like Lurrus, as an example, don't have a lot of mana in play a lot of times. So if they only have 3 or 4 lands in play, they can't even get the Lurrus to be able to play it. So they have to spend a turn getting the Lurrus into their hand and then the next turn actually playing it. That makes a pretty big difference in the gameplay. I would say the same thing. If I'm playing like a Gruul list, then getting Umari down and getting his benefit is going to be a lot more difficult if I already have other things I'm trying to play that turn. Now, does this mean that people no longer play companions? I don't believe so. I think it changed the way they're used. However, you will see less of them because you just won't be able to play them on time and utilize their abilities. Now, moving on to the cards that actually got banned in Standard, we have Agent of Treachery and Fires of Invention. Both are banned. What does that really say for the format? We can talk about that in a second. Mostly because I also want to hit on the fact that these same 2 cards were banned in Historic. That's where I think they could have done more. We'll definitely get into that here in a second. Then going down the list, everything's effective basically starting today into the update for Arena, which is on the 4th. However, there was an announcement saying that they are going to update on the 3rd, actually, as opposed to the 4th, as the announcement states. Now, let's get back to the cards that are actually banned. Like, what does that do to Standard? What does that do to Historic? Let's start with Historic. Okay, and let me be clear. I get that in Historic, the cards are suspended, but for the time being, we're basically going to look at them as though they're banned, because you can't play with them. Though I will say, if you have the cards in paper and you're thinking about trading them or selling them, just know that when something's suspended, there's a chance that it'll come back. We saw that happen with a card like Field of the Dead. If it's banned, there's a good chance it's just not coming back anytime soon. So do with that information what you will. I'm going to build decks, especially on the channel, as though we just aren't getting to play with them ever again. If we get them back, it'll just be a pleasant surprise. The biggest problem there, I think, is that though those 2 cards played a part in some things, they weren't really the problematic cards in Historic. If you've watched any of the videos on this channel recently, you can see that we're able to do a lot of insane things in that format, and it really didn't involve these 2 cards. It's possible that some other things needed to be removed, and very likely Winota also should have been removed from Historic, or some combination of getting rid of the Marauders, though they just released Angrass Marauders as part of Anthologies 3, so it's not likely they were going to do that. So maybe just putting Winota on the list for Historic would have been the best answer. That seems to be one of the most egregious problems right now, but let's see what happens over the next couple of weeks. Wouldn't be surprised if we see that come down from on high. Now, as for Standard, it's a little bit of a different story, because I think there were many people that felt, at the very least, Teferi should have been included in this list of cards. There's some other stuff people didn't like Wilderness Reclamation, and I personally was pulling for Growth Spiral if you got rid of all those other ones, just to keep Wilderness Reclamation decks and any of the Simic ramp decks in check. That being said, I am pleased that these 2 cards are gone. It does change the way the biggest deck in the format plays in Yorion, and who knows what that's going to turn into. They're still going to be able to play the deck, but it's definitely going to play differently. But the question then becomes, what does the rest of the format look like? Honestly, who knows? I think a lot of the decks that were already popular are still going to be popular. So if you played Obosh Mono Red or Black, or maybe you're playing some type of Knights deck, or if you are playing Wilderness Reclamation, like a lot of those decks are still going to look the same. The difference though is the cards you're playing within those lists. The reason being, there are things that I didn't play in my list, say, over the weekend in the Arena Open, because I expected to run into a lot of Yorion decks. There's also some cards I sideboarded differently because of that. So now those decks each have something like probably 6 to 8 slots they can move around, and that could fundamentally change how the decks work, or maybe even give them options to take their decks in a slightly new direction. Obviously, we'll be trying some stuff here on the channel here in the next week. So I don't know, I think overall it's a positive. The letdown though is I think there should have been more. Now, people would like to see fewer cards banned, and I understand that. Don't fault them at all. There is some time or monetary cost that could affect some people, and I totally get it. But I think for the format to open wide up, I would have liked to have seen a couple more things added. Some people were really pushing for Winota and Wilderness Reclamation, though I think if there's fewer control decks, you can play more spot removal, and that makes Winota less of an issue. But Wilderness Reclamation remains to be seen, and we'll just have to see where the rest of the format goes. It's kind of hard to know right now. But anyway, that's the announcement. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Is this going to get you more interested in Standard? Does it solve your problem? Are you glad to see Yorion decks go away? I mean, did you want something else to go away? Maybe a card I didn't even mention that you have a problem with. Let's talk about it. And please remember to like this video, and if you haven't, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be trying to bring you all types of content, as I usually am, and I'm trying to deliver stuff minimum of 5 days a week, but right now we've been hitting 7 days a week. So you're going to get your $0 worth? Whatever. Hit the button. And remember to hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I have a video up. But that's all I have for now. We will see you next time.